Hey everybody, Ben here from DMC Films and Cinderblock Studios, and welcome to another product review. Today I'm taking a look at Photoshop Elements 14. The reason I'm taking a look at 14 specifically is because I've been using version 10 for a very, very long time, and I really wanted to have a look at what the new version is, and to be sure it's still something that I can recommend. Now, if you look, this is just what you get when you open up the program, and you sort of have this three sections up at the top: eLive, which is pretty useless; Quick Edits, which is also pretty useless, gives you a couple of options. There's Guided, which has some filters, which is again pretty useless. And then there's Expert, which is the only one you should ever really have to use. And this is in the editor. When you first open the program up, it'll give you an option, just kind of give you a welcome screen. You can choose Open to Editor every time. Now, before I decided to do any major testing out of the program, I wanted to make sure I could transfer my custom brushes into the new version, which, as you can see here, is just as simple as dragging them over to the brushes folder. Now, this, in comparison, is the old version, version 10 of Photoshop Elements. One thing you're going to see is that the layout of the old version is actually better, and it's a little bit easier to understand, at least in my opinion. So as you can see, it's kind of just what I'm used to in terms of Photoshop Elements. And regular Photoshop CC actually looked very similar to that as well. So with Elements 14, as you can see, the layout is very, very different. When I first just saw a screenshot of this, I was a little concerned. I was concerned that it was going to be more scaled back than it's been, but it's actually just as fully featured as any other version of Photoshop Elements. So I just kind of started out playing around, just trying to get my bearings on trying to figure out where everything is. Now I'm using my regular Wacom Intuos Pro, so I was impressed to see all my brush tools down below. That is actually a really interesting addition to that. Rather than having them up in smaller menus, they have them right ready to go for you down below, which is actually I found to be pretty useful. So they're pretty easily accessible. And so I have just automatic tablet support, very, very easy. Same thing with brush settings, very easy to access all of those. Tilt, fade, everything, just very, very easy. Really no difference at all. In fact, it might be a little bit more attuned to using a tablet than particularly the older versions. So that was really, really great to see. And then I just grabbed one of my custom brushes, and that as well, again, works just fine. Of course, you have to kind of keep remembering to turn on pressure sensitivity for each brush, which is a little bit annoying, but that's just Photoshop Elements in general. That's just kind of, you have to keep doing it. So again, it works just fine. I'm just blocking out something with the color there, making sure everything works. I do have that hard pressure sensitivity as well as a nice light tap if I absolutely need it. Just playing around again here with the brushes, just making sure everything responds the way that it should, and indeed it really does. So that was definitely a good checkbox for this particular thing. I was having a look here at, because the layout is so different, where everything is. So you see me there in the view, I opened up Effects, and I said, okay, maybe I want to get my layers up there too. But they're sort of on separate panes. You can't customize your side windows, and you can't sort of drag and drop them together, which really kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't really sure what to do with that. So you can change sort of the size of the objects, but I couldn't quite figure it out right away. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just kind of get them together and drag them in. That's just not how it works in at least the new version of Photoshop Elements. It does work that way with the old version. And that's when I noticed down below that it gives you basically menu options in the lower right-hand corner. So you can open up this little options window, and your layers are down there as well. But you can't have them both together, as you saw earlier, the way it was already set up in Elements 10. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I don't think it's as big of a deal as I think it is in my mind a little bit, but it's just very different than what I'm used to. If you're new to the program, it shouldn't be too bad. Now here I'm actually playing a little bit in the settings, in my performance settings. This is the one thing that I was very impressed with, is that I can allocate more memory space in the new version of Photoshop Elements. The old version has a cap to how much memory you can how much system memory you can use, and this one basically allows you to use all of it if it wants it to. Same deal, history states gives you 1,000, and cache levels gives you 8, which is, I think, more than the older versions as well. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure that's a lot more than what I was getting. So I was basically just kind of playing around, seeing what the different options were, seeing how much I could customize in order to make it fit just my general preferences in this case. I hate to say it preferences twice. Preferences to fit my preferences, but really that's what it is. So it does give you a good number of options to play with. Some defaults you can kick up. I just kicked up my default resolution from 72 to, I think that's 200 or 250. And again, it gives you, I think, a lot more, not a lot more, but a handful more options than some of the older versions of Elements, which is really a refreshing thing to see. One thing I kept looking for but could not find was a way to change the just overall color of the window. Now it may exist, but I didn't find it. I just don't like that white and gray color scheme that the entire program has. I was hoping to kind of tone it down and try and get like a deep gray like I have in Elements 10, but I just could not find it. So I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. So it is a little bit of a bummer that it doesn't give you that option to really kind of customize your window. And I'm not, again, thrilled with the choice of how to put effects and layers in sort of this little bit of a lower ribbon menu. It is an interesting choice. I think it definitely could work for some people, but again, you can't, as you see, you can't drag windows in. You can't really customize your workspace, which I think is really quite a bit of a bummer. Especially if you're working on a smaller screen, say a laptop or a tablet. This really won't help you in any way, especially when you have such a minimal amount of screen real estate. So if you're concerned about that, I would say definitely try and get an older version of Elements rather than the new version, which is 14, at least at the time of recording this video. So overall, I think it's still a good option. That was sort of my venture into this. I had heard, somewhat rumored on a forum, that the new version of Elements was just basically just a bunch of filters and a bunch of cheap effects, but the Photoshop Elements 14 is still as fully featured as the older versions, and I can still hands down recommend it to anyone interested in digital art, but definitely doesn't want but those of you who don't want to break your wallet. Retail's price for this is around, I think, $79, though it might be on sale currently for the month of November with holiday season coming up. And that was really important to doing this video, in knowing that some of you could be buying this down the road. So thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe for more art videos like this. And this has been from DMC Films and Cinderblock Studios. See you guys next time. So again, for this product review, I don't even know if there's a rating system, but I'm going to just call it 10 out of 10. Whether you have artwork or small things like little knitted crochet, like whatever you're making, clearbags.com for all of that stuff. And again, they're not paying me to say it.